Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Safari Mack Returns to Africa. I'm Safari Mack, your guide and host, helping you make connections to the wild. I tell you what folks, it is great to finally be back after a little 2-week rest R&R, especially with celebrating Easter, but now it's time to get back on the African Safari Trail. Today we are still in the Serengeti region, but we are now in the Eastern African country of Kenya, where today we meet with one of the most dangerous snakes known in the history of our planet, the Black Mamba, or known as by their Latin name, Dendroaspis polylepis. And trust me when I tell you, make no mistake, these creatures are truly a force to be reckoned with. But before we begin, if you're new to my channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Check out my Facebook page for content on conservation. And if you have a question or an animal that you want me to do in the future, you just have to send me an email, which you will always find the link to down in my description below. But if you're ready, let's get started. As always, we'll begin with their evolution and their family. Now, the Black Mamba is known as evolved as a highly specialized, fast-moving, and arboreal terrestrial member of the elapid family that diverged from cobra-like ancestors millions of years ago. Now, because of this, it makes it one of Africa's most deadliest snakes on the African continent. But now, if you really want to understand about how this kind of a nightmarish creature originally came to be, we need to go back 60 to 80 million years ago, where the ancient snakes, like ancient cobras, managed to repurpose their saliva glands to contain powerful neurotoxins, enough to more likely to, not meant to really kill you by slowing everything down in your body. So that way, this became more of an arms race in evolutionary terms. Now, it's not exactly known when the Black Mamba originally first evolved, but it is thought that we are known that they are sharing a close relation with the Green Mamba that tends to live in trees. Especially as the Black Mamba itself turned more to the savanna habitat. Now let's talk about the habitat and its lifestyle. So the Black Mamba has a pretty wide distribution. As you can see though, they have generally avoid the desert regions and even stay far away from the densely forested region. Of course, that's not to say that you can't find them hanging out in a forested region. I'm talking more like the deep jungle, maybe, regions. That's where you probably won't find them as much. Now, these snakes are not really territorial, but they will occupy a little nest cavity or other spots that they seem to constantly return back to after a day's hunting of small mammals or birds or insects or amphibians, and of course other reptiles when they come cross paths. Now, they are generally solitary, yes, but of course even when it comes time to breed, they have to go on dates. And also, they have to fight one another to gain breeding rights. So that's where these two males, as you can see, they're kind of constantly twirling around in each other, and they're also trying to pin one to the ground as a form of dominance, so that eventually he will be able to win the right to breed with females as they do in the early spring. Now, generally, after this, Mom will lay around anywhere from 6 to 17 eggs, but after that, she abandons them. She does not take care of them, as these creatures truly are capable of caring for themselves once they hatch out of their eggs. Eventually, yeah, so that's right. Even as a baby, these creatures already carry the murder weapon. But of course, do you think that all Black Mambas are evil? Let's take a look. We know, of course, that they have been used in... They really do have a forever permanent place as a terrifying animal, known for precision killing and a symbol of death in southern eastern Africa, as well as being always portraying as like that animal that's always going to attack you and kill you. And of course, we also know that famous scene from the movie Kill Bill. But is that always true? No. Generally, the truth is, the Black Mamba does not really want to have to kill you. They don't want to bite you if it can be avoided. They would prefer to spend their time hiding and just trying to live their lives. When they see, if they're being cornered, they want to run. If anything, they can actually slither pretty fast, somewhere from 11 to 12 miles an hour, almost easily outrunning a human. And of course, their length doesn't really help us at all, making them one of the longest venomous snakes on the African continent. And like I said before, the Black Mamba is more of a ground dweller, while its cousin, the Green Mamba, is a tree-dwelling hunter. Now, despite the name Black Mamba, these creatures are not really black, but are more of a dark olive-like color. And here's another pretty interesting thing about how dangerous their venom is. They can inject, so usually it takes around only 10 to 15 milligrams of their venom to easily kill us. But in a single bite, they can inject as much as 400 grams. This truly is, like I said, a snake you do not want to mess with. A true force to be reckoned with. But now, I want to show you one more cool thing about this creature. Take a look at this. Take a look at this guy here. Look at those weird structures on the side near its head. If some people didn't know better, you would think that it was like a cobra because it's got this kind of hood-like structure that gives it a similar appearance. And they will often also use this first before biting. If they're cornered, they're going to try to do everything they can to avoid having to bite. They're going to hiss, they're going to loud, they're going to open their big mouths and spread that hood as a way of saying, leave me alone, go away, or you're going to die. Because let's face it, 100% of the time, you will die from a Black Mamba bite. Finally, I would like to spread some good news. These creatures are not considered to be an endangered species. They're in fact actually part of the least concern on the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. Now, they do possess a pretty wide range in Africa and a pretty stable population, but habitat destruction and human advancement has been causing a bit of a problem. And it's not them. They don't want to have to come to us, but they're just looking for a place to live and a place to hide. However, those that are getting closer to the urban environments in Africa, it actually holds a pretty amazing clue. Scientists have been able to actually study the snakes living in the urban area to see how high the heavy metal concentrations are, especially with animals that are exposed, like their prey, such as mice or smaller animals. As you can see, in the urban environment, the scales reflected exposure due to high metal concentrations, while in the natural environment, those high metal concentrations are very much lower. And then finally, these guys are important for us because, and yes, I said important, because they do provide us with keys to helping save lives. Anti-venom. Yes, that's right. We do milk Black Mambas and other highly venomous snakes, as we know, to get their venom that we can then later use to make a special antitoxin that can help save lives, especially if you do get bit by some of these animals. Because without it, you're a goner. Well, I'm afraid that's all the time I have with these guys because they're beginning to make me a little bit nervous. But join me next week as we welcome the Eastern Mountain Bongo to our Safari Mack guest list. But until then, this is Safari Mack. I'll see you all out there.